A Light in the Darkness Chapter 54, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. The group took that 3 minutes to plan, and then the girl I pointed out, who had focused on her movement technique and was faster and more agile than anyone else in the sect, moved out towards the Carnifex Tyranid I pointed out. But the group was smart, as nowhere in my orders to them did I say that the girl needed to rush over to get the massive Tyranid after her as soon as possible. No, she carefully and very slowly trekked through the forest, making sure there were no other invisible Tyranids about to jump out from behind a tree and rip off a limb, as I had made it perfectly clear that I wouldn't save them from their fuck-ups until they paid for the lesson in blood. It took her a whole 5 minutes to slowly catch up to the Carnifex that was seemingly resting, and in that time, she was making her way over there. Her other teammates were hard at work making an enhanced gravity and fire-creating formation trap to obviously lure the Tyranid into. Then the moment came. Elowyn took out a knife that I saw was made with the blade and the handle covered in seals, and then she chucked the knife into one of the multiple eyes of the resting Carnifex, which made it scream in primal fury, and with the head of the monster turning with its many other eyes tightening and almost glowing with wrath as the Carnifex got to its feet and rushed towards Elowyn, who was gracefully dashed away using her movement technique that made it so every step she took launched her a whole 10+ meters, with each step looking like she was stepping on a cloud that launched her forward. Even as I saw the other Carnifexes around the area perking up from the screams of the angry one, I saw them going back to a vigilant resting stance. I nodded, seeing how Elowyn dashed past the formations and then angled herself to the side and pretended like she tripped over a root. I could see the excitement and desire for her flesh as the Carnifex carelessly ran over the formations, which glowed at its entry to the area the two formations covered, and as they activated, I clapped in appreciation to their actions. Because Carnifexes were no joke, even I myself couldn't meet them in a contest of pure strength with their size and inhuman physiology. Sure, I could kill them easily with my cultivator magic bullshit, especially with some prep work, but in the end, the monster was still physically stronger than me, and I shouldn't need it in hand-to-hand combat. Now, Arya and the others called out and they flexed their burgeoning chi, activating the formations. The Carnifex collapsed to the ground with its armored legs audibly breaking from the abrupt 10 times increase to gravity, and then as it roared in agony a loud screeching noise rang out as like a blowtorch held upside down, a pillar of white-hot flames pushed up from the formation on the ground upwards, burning away at the Tyranid. Then I saw what Elowyn's seal-covered knife did as she made a hand sign, and then a loud explosion rang out and a chunk of the Tyranid's head blew off, and although that wasn't inherently lethal, but with the monster now being stuck in what amounted to being a blowtorch's flames, its now opened-up skull devoid of its race's chitin, thick muscle, and other natural defenses made the monster thrash as its brain was flash-fried. "Cut off the formation before you guys run out of chi," I called out wryly as I saw how the rest of the people, even Arya, the Eldar, were pale at fueling the double formation that easily wiped out the Carnifex. "Alright, give it a minute to cool off before you collect the bones and chitin to turn into the smiths and alchemists," I said before hopping to my feet with a smile as Arya looked at me. "Patriarch, more are coming?" she asked, panting and using her sheathed sword, and I nodded. "Yup, you just keep your cute little butt over there safe while I deal with these," I said cheerfully, seeing how my students had taken my little teachings to their limits and had laid the foundation of some of the strongest methods cultivators had. The magical, almost incomprehensible truth that working together to pool their energies was far better than doing everything alone. At my somewhat flirty words, she blinked before sniffing with an amused smile, and I chuckled as her reaction reminded me of Ellesmere at times when she had her "worship me for I am a wise space elf" moments, and I had to spank that out of her. A loud crashing noise rang out as the first of the 3 Tyranids rushed towards me, bowling over a large tree. As it went to bring down its massive shoulder blade, I swiped my arm at it and my Kasaya beads lashed out, twirling around the blade arm of the Tyranid that came down on me, and as the Kasaya beads began draining it of blood, I took out my saber and with a deep stab forward I conjured a cargo container-sized Eastern dragon out of sword chi. That bite into the chest of the Tyranid, pushing it back and shattering its chest armor. "Still not strong enough to kill your type in one blow," I muttered as I took a breath and stepped forward and did a curling swipe with my saber, and the sword chi rushing across the blade made an even larger Eastern dragon apparition, but this one was filled with the core Tao of the rushing flood dragon sword style, so its muddy green eyes glowed with the weight of primitive intelligence as it dashed under the first Tyranid and then used its serpentine body to throw the first Tyranid backward into its compatriots before the flood dragon opened its mouth and instead of blowing flames sent a deluge of raindrops that collided with the Tyranids. But the raindrops weren't merely water. No, each drop was the concentrated sword chi of a single standard blow of mine, so each of the thousands of drops of sword chi flew seemingly unimpeded through the Tyranids like the most destructive bird shot ever, as the deluge of sword chi drops completely tore through the Tyranids and cut down several trees behind the monsters. I then turned around, feeling smug as hell and desiring to see my cute students' reactions, but Arya's words made the smile die as she spoke. That was an interesting summons, demon. Will our cultivation also include such techniques? I almost teleported next to the startled Eldar, and then I began lecturing the smug space elf. No, not in a million years would I bind a demon to a technique, and that the lesser dragon summoning was actually the realized technique coming to life due to my mastery over it. What about that dragon that lives around your castle, then? Is that also a technique? A student asked, and I then explained how that dragon was, in fact, a symbol of the sect itself and helped take care of its automated formations, and the dragon would become stronger along with the sect. And of course, said dragon-fed warp entities that came too close to the sect's barrier.